Welcome to this Timbuktu Freepod interview focusing on the people and places that make Freeport even better. I'm Becky Connors, and today I'm at Highland Community College in the Ferguson Fine Arts Center with Scott Stich, who has been the conductor of the Highland Community College Wind Ensemble for 28 years. This coming Friday, May 1st, will be his final concert as conductor as he retires. Congratulations, Scott.
Thank you, Becky, and thank you for inviting me today.
I'm thrilled to have you. I know you've got lots of good stories to share.
I'm excited.
Good. So, how are you feeling about this retirement coming up?
Most days I'm very excited. It's time for me to explore a new chapter. When I retired from public school, I was really excited about a new chapter there, and I failed miserably as a retiree. And when they offered me some classes at Highland, I took it excitedly, but I was already conducting here since 1998. So I was already here, and I dove into it like most people do, and it was supposed to be part-time, but I made it more than part-time.
What were the classes
really
that you've
quickly.
been teaching?
I've been teaching Music Theory 1 and 2, so that's first semester, second semester, and Aural Skills, which to most people is known as ear training.
Yes, that's what it was called when I was in
Ear
college.
Training 1 and Ear Training 2, and that's where we take the students through a whole series of things that helps them recognize sounds, chord qualities, interval qualities, scale qualities that they use in all of their settings, whether it be vocal, instrumental, piano, anything like that.
And how would you say it has changed in the years since you've been here as conductor of the Wind Ensemble? How has the ensemble itself changed?
Okay. Well, when I first was invited to fill in the spring semester, when Andy Hofel, the great Andy Hofel, and God rest his soul, he's not with us anymore, was here. This is a very different place then. I would say we had an ensemble of about 25 to 30 people, very hearty group of players, mostly adults, good, solid players. But they played a lot of traditional, a lot of Sousa marches. They played some show tunes. They played a few of the big Warhorse arrangements, like, say, a William Tell overture or a Wagner overture, or I can't think of any right off the top of my head.
But the stuff that maybe a lot of us played when we were in high school bands.
Right. Those kinds of things. And there were, the files in there have a lot of movie themes and show tune themes, and those are good, solid fare. And a lot of those were arranged and written in the 50s and 60s and some into the 70s. But then the great age of music that was written specifically for wind bands started in the 70s and the 80s. And then Andy started collecting those. And then I kind of came in there in the 90s, and we started buying a lot of new stuff and going back and finding the old stuff that hadn't been collected yet, like the Holst suites and the Von Williams suites and the Granger. There's a ton of Granger that I bought for the file.
And I know you love Granger.
I love Granger. Granger's one of my favorite.
There's a Granger in the May 1st concert, just to note to the listeners.
The Children's March is on the Granger, or is on the May 1st concert. And we just played some selections from the Lincolnshire Posy by Granger back in March 1, and those went really well.
Those
for
were
anybody
fun.
Who missed those. Those were really good.
So the music that the Wind Ensemble plays has changed quite a bit during your tenure. How about the people themselves? Would you say that they've changed a lot or no?
Yes. There's still a lot of band directors come and play.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a lot of professional people in town who continue to play their instruments. And now there's still Highland students, but more of them. And there's a lot of high school students who come from the area high schools who want a more challenging experience than they have in their high
And
school.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I think that is really good for them. It's good for their high school programs, and it's really what Highland's all about. It's what Highland's here for. It gives them a head start on their Highland education here. It gives them something more to do while they're here.
Makes them feel like they belong and
Yes.
some kinship with Highland while
Yes.
they're pulling them in as students and keeping them involved as students.
That is well put. And if you read the mission statements of Highland, it's continuing education, and that's what we connect up with our adults. And it gets our students started a little early on their Highland education, and we have the college now going anyway. So then our students come in and say, well, I'm still a high school student. I'm doing the double attack here. So I might as well play my horn while I'm here because I played in band in my high school. And then when we go out and talk with high school students, we say, don't you want to come play in an ensemble that's a little different than your ensemble? Maybe play some harder music and
sit next to some adults that can be teaching you just by sitting there playing with you. Yeah. So we're talking about how we connect to people younger, but I know you've mentioned to me in the past how we also connect to older musicians through Freeport Concert Band. And you talked to me about some of how you think they feed off each other. Can you tell us about that?
When I first started here, there were, I'm just going to pick a number, 3 or 4 players that were solid players that also played in park band. And I got invited to play also in park band, and I had not been playing because of other things to do with my own high school band. And that's busy to play 6 weeks, 6 rehearsals, 6 performances. And finally I said, yeah, I'd like to do that too. And I started meeting all these people and like, oh, and they're like, you do the Highland band? And I said, yes. And we could use another trumpet or we could use another clarinet. And they're like, oh, I'd like to drop by sometime. And I said, well, we're always on Wednesday nights. And soon we had more people dropping by to play at Highland band. In the meanwhile, we had a few Highland band people who were good, solid players. And park band would say, do you have another tuba player or do you have another French horn player? I said, as a matter of fact, we do. And so we started sharing our players back and forth.
So there's quite a bit of overlap between the two.
There's quite a bit. There might be 10 at this point. And we occasionally use a good student for a fill-in. They'll say, do you have another? Yeah, this kid can come in and sight read that in a 1 rehearsal setting, which is harder than it sounds, people.
Especially for younger people not used to it.
Yeah, the park band is a tough setting because you come in on one night and play a rehearsal, and then you only have a few days to get your stuff ready for Sunday night. And in the older days, that was common. And you did maybe 8 or 10 concerts.
I know they used to do 10. Yeah.
And now we do 6, and that's still a lot of work. But the younger players go, wow, I got to read this on one night and play it on Sunday. Yes.
Yes, you do.
So we rehearse a lot longer than that here. And sometimes we have music that's a little bit over the student's head because they're not used to playing that hard of literature, and they practice and practice and practice.
And it makes them better.
And I see change from week to week when they come in. And I think they like being challenged. Good students like to be challenged.
So one thing about Scott that impresses me is his beautiful scrapbook of every single program since he started as conductor of the Highland Wind Ensemble. I'm looking at them right here in front of me. They're labeled. They're beautifully put into a 3-ring binder. So take a little trip down memory lane. Tell us about some of the concerts that jump out at you, some of your favorite memories from the concerts, anything at all.
Well, first of all, there's 2 editions. They don't fit in one book anymore. So it's 28 years, and it was about ready to fit into 3, but I just kind of kept moving them back and forth so they fit into 2 editions. But I started saving programs because when I was teaching at the high school in Lena, we had a magnificent secretary in the high school by the name of Marilyn Holmes. She was a top-rate secretary. We would call them professional assistants now. But that woman could keep many plates in the air.
Uh-huh.
But you had to type your program up for her so the lists were perfect and the songs were perfect, and then she'd get your programs ready for you. And she saved every one of those programs in a folder. So I learned to keep a copy of everything in a folder in the file drawer. And at some point when she retired, we had to type it up for a different person. Well, by then we all had computers in every office. So to type it up and keep it on your Word documents, I got to thinking, let's save the secretaries some time and just do the program. We're typing it up anyway.
Sure.
Well, when that started, I guess I stopped saving the programs.
Oh, no.
Because you go in and open the file and tweak it, and there's your new program.
So you got a digital copy, but not a paper copy.
Yeah, and about 5 years of that, I noticed I didn't have all the programs. So when I started working here, I saved every copy. And it has all the rosters of who played, all the titles. So when someone would say to me, when's the last time you played that piece? We can find out.
You could just look it up.
And someone will say, I don't remember playing on that concert with that piece. And I'll go back and say, yes, you did. And you sat next to so-and-so.
And I have irrefutable proof.
And occasionally someone will say, you never played that piece. And I say, yes, I did. I conducted that 3 times over the course. And they'll say, how do you remember all that? I don't remember all that. I have
I looked it up.
Printed proof. Now, as far as what we did that was cool, I'm looking at the front cover of a Leonard Bernstein concert that we did. And it was all us. And it was
meaning that it wasn't also
Highland.
The orchestra or anybody else. Yeah.
We did not share the concert. On that concert, we did Slava. We did West Side Story. We did
Musical Toast.
Yes. And that was written by Andre Kostelanetz. It was written for Andre Kostelanetz for a birthday celebration. And we did the overture to Candide. We did the entire Candide suite. That was a big concert. That was like a big load of music. And
I would love to hear that concert.
I can remember very distinctly, I was here earlier than all the musicians, and the instrumental room was all cleared. And I was so excited, and I had the stage set and everything was organized. And I come out of the file room and I was walking down the raised steps and I missed a step.
Uh-oh.
And I landed almost on my face and on both of my hands. And I swear to God, I thought I broke one of my wrists. And I stood up and I just stood still thinking, what have I done? I've got to conduct in an hour and a half. And my right wrist hurt and I moved it and it seemed okay. And I breathed. I guess I'm okay. But for some reason, it must have been adrenaline. I was okay, but that was a terrible fall right before a big, big concert.
Yeah.
So on concert nights, I try to be really careful and not do stupid things like that. But that was like the second or third year after I started here. And shortly after that, we did a Copeland thing with area high schools. I know that Freeport played on it, Freeport High School. I know that Dakota High School played on it. Pecatonica High School played on it. Lena Winslow High School played on it.
And they all played different Copeland songs?
They all played a Copeland song. And Highland played the first one and the last one. And I don't have that right on the top here. I don't know what happened to it. But there was a
little fanfare for the common man at the beginning?
There was fanfare on there.
Good guess. Okay.
Fanfare was on the concert. And I remember that Freeport played Shaker, the Shaker tune. And there it is. There's Copeland.
Appalachian Spring. Yeah.
Appalachian Spring.
Yeah.
So Lena Winslow, there was a woodwind quintet, Pecatonica. There was a brass quintet. Forreston played, Forreston High School. Another woodwind quintet, Freeport High School. And then Highland Community Band again. So it was very, and you know what was hardest about that? I think there was I felt like there was one more group on there. The hardest part was Copeland's music is not high school band material. So we had to search to find, if we did that again, there are probably high school arrangements for every one of those pieces.
Sure.
But back in the day we did that, circa 2001, there were not.
And just think how many high school students that maybe was their first time at Highland, almost certainly their first time performing on the Highland stage. What a great experience for them.
We played this on the Masonic Temple stage. So it was an even bigger deal.
Yeah.
It was a cool deal. It was cool beans.
Cool beans.
So all those kids were together. They only got one chance to perform, and it was a good opportunity. And when I pitched the idea, they're like, "Oh, it's going to cost us for the stage." And I believe Thompson Brandt was our head of the humanities, says, "I think that's a good idea. Let's go with that."
Mm-hmm.
And we got going.
Excellent.
So that's the way we did that. And then interspersed there, we had the orchestra working with us.
Uh-huh.
That has had some good days and some not so good days, depending on the leadership there. Right now, there's good leadership right there. We have Brandon Lamb,
Mm-hmm.
and that's gone really well.
Mm-hmm.
And they're growing really well.
And some people play in both the band, they're the wind ensemble and the orchestra.
Right.
But yeah, it's nice that there's a performance group for the string players.
Right. And we've tried, we moved the orchestra to the same night as the concert band rehearsals. So they're both on Wednesday. So then we can have string orchestra pieces and we can have symphony orchestra pieces. And the symphony orchestra pieces are the pieces where the wind band players are playing the horn parts for the symphony orchestra. So that's very cool. We played a movement of the Dvorak New World Symphony last spring, and that was a big deal. And coming up in May, we're going to play 2 movements from Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and that's a big deal. That's a big piece of literature.
All right. So it's been a really interesting and wonderful time having you as conductor. Let's talk a little bit about what did you do before you became conductor here? Tell us where you went to school and stuff like that.
Well, I came from Lena originally, and I went to Illinois Wesleyan to do my bachelor's degree. And it's an interesting story because my wife, Lisa, was interested in going to Illinois Wesleyan first. And she and I were dating in high school. And she said, "I'm going to audition at Illinois Wesleyan this weekend. Would you like to ride along?" And I kind of didn't know what I was doing yet. Senior year, and it was probably Columbus Day audition. That's pretty early in the year.
Yeah.
And she went and she auditioned. And while I was there, they talked to me about auditioning. So I went back in December and did my audition and got accepted. So we went to Illinois Wesleyan at the same time. Probably the same time you were going to Milliken.
Let's see. I went to Milliken 81 to 85.
And we were there from the fall of 79 to the spring of 83.
Yes. So you overlapped with my brother,
yes,
who attended Illinois Wesleyan. So good little intermingling there.
We
yeah.
had that Milliken and Wesleyan thing going on at the same time. Yes. We knew Chris while we were there. He was into journalism, if I remember correctly.
Still is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we finished at Illinois Wesleyan, jobs were really tight. And I interviewed for 2 jobs and got offered both of them. And Lena Winslow was my best offer. And so we came back to Lena and I got the job there, and Lisa got a choir job next door at Warren. And she was there for 2 years before she came over to Lena. So we were both there. I looked at other jobs after I was at Lena about 8 or 10 years and thought, I'm going to go to a bigger job. And every time I looked, it looked good, but I stayed at Lena. I just kept staying at Lena. I even looked at a job at Freeport when Bill had been there and left. And then
when he went to
came
get
back-
his
yeah.
master's in
Yeah,
Michigan.
I looked at that job and I thought, that's a good job. I was going to take a cut in pay. And I thought, I might as well stay where I'm at. I looked at a job at Platteville, University of Platteville. And again, I was going to take a cut in pay. And at that point in my career, I wasn't really interested in going after a PhD. I was looking at doing a PhD, but by that point, my daughter was in junior high. And I thought, I'm going to change jobs and do a PhD now. So I decided not to do that.
So how many years total did you teach at Lee Winland?
33.
33. And that overlapped with the 28 years that you were
right.
here. All right.
About 10 years into teaching at Lena Winslow, I started my master's. And about the second year I was doing my master's is when they offered me a fill-in here. Andy Hofel took a different job in the suburbs, north suburbs, and they said, we need somebody to cover the concert band. And I thought, I love being a concert band conductor. That was one thing I thought that I would like to do if I moved up to a college job. And so I took that. And it was a busy spring, but I thought, I can do that for a semester and see how that works out. And lo and behold, they offered me to stay on. I thought, well, you better get your act together if you're going to stay on. And things went well.
And as you mentioned, there are quite a few band directors who play in the wind ensemble. And I hear, the band directors talking about the future of music education. What do you see as being important or being why the future of music education is so important for people?
I think music education is important for people, especially in this area, because music is part of everyone's life in some way. And the more we can get music in front of kids, especially in schools, the arts programs, whether it be graphic arts, visual arts, musical arts, performing arts, whatever form of arts we have for these kids, is a way for them to express themselves and develop their own personalities and to develop their own skills. They don't know what they want to do when they're in junior high and high school. They don't know what they're good at yet. They need to do things that they can experience success. They need to do things that they can just experiment and say, yeah, I was kind of good at that. Let's try some more. Or no, I wasn't good at that. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
A lot of our fine arts kids are good at more than one discipline.
Definitely.
We had a lot of kids who were good at both singing and at playing an instrument, and they all want to be on stage. They all want to sing and dance. They all are good at helping with the painting of the back behind the stage things. A lot of kids, after they would get into high school, because it's so hard in junior high to take 2 or 3 electives, but they would get into high school and the next thing I'd see, they'd be going to art class. And I say, are you good at art too? And they're like, oh yeah, I love to draw and paint. And my teacher says I'm a pretty good sculptor. Or I'll come across the hall here at the Fine Arts at Highland here and run into a student or two and say, I didn't know you were an artist also. I'm like, I love art. So people who are good at the arts are good at the arts.
Yes. And let's just hope that all the area schools continue funding their arts programs and their bands and their choirs and all the theater. Let's hope that all those keep going.
Let's hope.
You are retiring soon, but people can look forward to seeing you playing timpani in the Freeport Park Band. And are you conducting a concert this summer?
I am conducting. I'm the second concert in June. I don't have that date right under my head.
I don't know when it is either, but sometime in June. But anyway, so come to the Park Band concerts, but make sure that you come Friday, May 1st at 7 o'clock to the Highland Community College Ferguson Fine Arts Center to see Scott's final concert as conductor of the Highland Wind Ensemble.
It's going to be a great concert.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.